All wings report in.
HouseDog, standing by.
Mother Goose, standing by.
Lock S-foils in attack position. Animal Squadron ready for battle.
Hello there, and welcome back to the Animal Squadron podcast. I am your host, HouseDog, and with me, as always, the person who has watched me crawl back from the brinks of depth. That makes no sense. I may have had a slight stroke there.
Death.
Yes, he's watched me crawl back from the brinks of death. There we go.
Yeah,
I'm
I know
here.
what you
I'm
mean.
alive. Mother Goose, hello, buddy. Please let me end this intro so you can come in and start to save the podcast.
Hello, friend. I think you should keep this intro going on for at least another 5 minutes. This is what the people pay for.
This intro is about to be like our episode 3 Mandalorian review and never see the light of
And
day.
never see the light. Exactly. Except I edit the episode, so it will see the light of day.
I guess it has to. But we're here today, and we're here to talk about Solo, which is not one of your favorite films, but I had a lot of fun watching it today, and I miss Solo.
Actually, my friend, Solo is one of my favorite films.
You lie! You lie!
No, so I left the theater the first time after we went to go see it, and I literally thought, maybe Disney can make a good Star Wars film.
Which was not the feelings of a great many of people.
Of most people. Yeah, I honestly, maybe we shouldn't trust my opinions on films, because I feel like a lot of times I disagree with the majority. Not in like a hipster way, like, oh, I'm so cool, but in a like, what's this guy even talking about kind of a way.
No, you're definitely a hipster. Ever since I've known you, you've just been a hipster.
Thanks. You know me with my landline telephone and
Subaru Outback.
my Subaru Outback and my homebrew coffee.
Yes, that you grow the own beans yourself.
I grow my own beans.
If anything, I wouldn't even equate you to a hipster. I would say you're more of like a Steve Jobs or a Bill Gates.
Thanks.
You've worn like the same style of clothing ever since I've known you.
That is very true. I've tried changing my style a couple times, and it has been a disaster. Like, not last Christmas, but December 2020, I went and bought some new clothes, and it was horrifying. I spent like a lot of money, and I hated everything.
Yeah, because ever since I've known you, I think you've worn like the same pair of Wranglers or Levi's, whatever they are. They're the same
Now-
style, as always.
Yeah, I will say, same style. I promise you listeners, I have bought new jeans. And I have many pairs. I do not just wear the same pair of jeans. I got a leather jacket recently. Well, last year.
Do you have a fedora and a samurai sword to go along with that, my lady?
Of course I do. No, I do not have a samurai sword. I may
Tell me
have
you
a
don't have a fedora. Tell me you don't.
Okay, listen. I bought it when I was in high school. I wore it once and have never worn it again. I promise. That thing has not touched my head in years.
My lady?
Milady. Why don't girls ever date nice guys like me? Tips my hat.
Tips my fedora.
Okay,
Oh
so
my gosh. Well, unlike your wonderful sense of style and everything, we do see someone today with a wonderful sense of style.
with
and
an
that
actual
is
good sense of style, yes.
the young Lando Calrissian.
Yes. Yeah, which we'll get to. I do have a couple questions before we actually get into the film.
Well, go ahead. It's not like we don't start every episode that way. So what's the
I
point
know.
of changing the formula now, my friend?
So they'll be quick questions, but do you think Han needed an origin film? Just like overall?
I mean, starting out today, I was kind of like, is Solo really a required film?
Yeah.
And then I started watching it, and I was like, yes. And just throughout the first half of this movie that we watched today, there were a bunch of things that popped up, and I was like, oh my gosh, that explains who Han is so much and why he does the things that he does. And I mean, in all reality, is a Han Solo origin story 100% needed in the Star Wars universe? No. It could have been a comic book or a book or,
or a game.
Or a game. Any of those things. But I'm really glad we got Solo.
I am too. I really, really enjoyed this film. And I agree. I think, you can enjoy every other piece of content that has Han Solo in it, mainly the Skywalker saga, and not have watched Solo. But I do think, like you said, it adds a lot of depth to his character.
Yeah, and you definitely understand who he is more because of Beckett.
Right. And I think my last question is, how do you think his actor did? Again, just overall. I mean, no one will be as good as Harrison Ford's Han Solo, but
I liked what he did. I thought all of his movements and mannerisms had the essence of who we see Han as later, but it's the beginning of those mannerisms and those little idiosyncrasies. So they're a little bit off because it's not Harrison Ford playing the character, but he did a great job portraying a young Han Solo.
I completely agree. There were just several hand movements that he made, and I was like, that is Han Solo.
Right, or whenever he kind of has his hands, his thumbs kind of tucked into his belt, almost like hands on the hips, but they're more tucked into his his little gun belt that he wears, and I'm like, that's Han.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. We can get into the actual film now.
I mean, can we? There's no crawl for this film.
Okay, that literally was my question. What are your thoughts on it not having a crawl?
I mean, it still started the same way as every Star Wars film.
Right, it had the text. It literally could have been a crawl. It could have been a crawl.
Which I was cool with there not being one. I liked it. I liked it just I liked it not having a crawl and it just, giving us some, hey, this is what's going on. We're about to meet our character. Here you go.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just think that if they were gonna present us all this text anyway,
Yeah, but there's also they don't even have a crawl for Rogue One, and I think that was the idea is that if it's not a main film,
one.
It doesn't get a crawl.
It really isn't a big issue. I really don't mind that they don't have crawls, but I'd completely forgotten that we had got that little exposition dump there at the beginning. And so when I was watching this, I just kept thinking this could have been a crawl, but no, it really isn't a big issue. And I think you're completely right. It helps separate them from the Skywalker saga.
Yeah, and I like it. It's different. It's okay to try new things.
I really don't have a lot of notes here. I don't think I have anything until we see Kira.
Wow. I have I have one thing.
Gotcha.
That made it sound like I had so much to tell you, and I don't.
It's okay. This one I think is going to be a little shorter.
One, it's interesting seeing Corellia, finally. It's been mentioned a ton throughout the films, but now we actually see Corellia.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's very dirty and gross.
Right. And
it seems like a planet that only builds starships and things like that.
Right. It seems like a place where the people don't really have the best opportunity for life.
No, definitely not. And now that I think about it, is Corellia in Force Unleashed?
Oh, maybe. I actually just started a Force Unleashed playthrough a couple nights ago, but I think I finished the first mission.
Is this in your private life?
This isn't my private life. What little free time I have.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so seeing Corellia was cool. And then also, as we see Han boosting that speeder at the end of the meeting that he was in, it pans up to the sky and you see the Star Destroyers actually being built in like low orbit.
Oh yeah, that really is a nice visual feature there.
Yeah, it's super cool. Like it's missing parts. It reminds me a lot of at the end of episode 3, whenever the Death Star is being built.
Yeah.
Oh, and hey, before I forget, a little thing that we talked about in our Force Awakens episode. So the reason why Starkiller Base was so powerful, besides it absorbing suns, is Starkiller Base is actually Ilum, the planet where they would go to get kyber crystals.
Yes, I was thinking about that too. Within the last week or so.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like stills of where the Empire was mining out Ilum, and that was the start of how Starkiller Base got started. That ring that it has within it is all from the mining of kyber crystals.
Man. You dang Empire. Just leave people alone. I do have actually a note on that. In terms of the Empire and what they did to their people, but that'll be just a little later.
Okay. Yeah, my only note seeing Kira was, that's not Leia.
Okay,
why is Han kissing her?
I literally wrote the exact same thing, word for word.
There we go.
Oh, I also added that traitor at the end, but besides that, word for word.
Yeah, that's not Leia. Who is this?
Shame. Okay, but really, their chemistry was really good.
Yeah, it was. It worked really well. It didn't make you go like, well, this isn't how Han is in a relationship or whenever he tries to get... Like, it was genuine. It was very genuine.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little different than Leia, but this was his first love.
Right. And it's not supposed to be Leia.
Right, exactly. I think a lot of people would be really disappointed if it was just a copy-paste version of Leia with some other girl.
Of Leia with some other girl?
No, like Leia as another girl. Like, Han plus Leia minus Leia plus Kira. That's a horrible way to describe it, but...
I thought you were getting into your secret, what's it called? Your, whenever fans write stories.
Sequel trilogy rewrite?
No, whenever fans write stories, what's that called?
Oh, fan fiction?
Yeah. Are you talking to us about your fanfic, Elijah?
I have never wrote fan fiction in my life.
You know what? I want to go through your entire computer system and see if that's true, because I think your fanfic is on there.
It is not. But
I'll find
if
it.
I ever do write a fanfic, I'll link it somewhere so you guys can listen, so you can read it.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody wants to read that. But back on topic.
I don't have anything until they're back with Lady Proxima.
I have a thing. So whenever he shows her the coaxium, he says that it's valued at around 500 to 600 credits.
Yeah.
And this will be important as we go on through the show.
Okay.
But just keep that in mind. Originally, the first time we get a price on coaxium, which is hyperfuel, is about 500 or 600 credits for that little vial that they have, just that little drop.
Okay, I will keep that in mind.
And then, obviously through what we've just seen in the first few minutes of this film, for me, like, we're talking about Han establishing his story and everything. Him being an orphan, and, like, obviously this is some type of, like, this is where all the, unwanted children go. Like,
yeah.
Han being an orphan makes a whole lot of sense for his character later in life. Or whenever we see him in New Hope.
I completely agree. And I think it really adds a lot of depth to... we talked about that in our last episode, but... Star Wars has always been about found family.
Yeah, I just think Han being an orphan, that checks out for me. It wasn't something that showed up in this film that I was like, I wouldn't buy that about him.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
So how do you feel about Lady Proxima?
I really like Lady Proxima. I think, like, visually, she's really cool. Like, every time I see her rising out of the water, I'm just, like, stunned.
Yeah, the only problem that I have with just this scene as a whole, and we'll obviously go into the scene more, but how dark it is. I feel like I'm missing so much of everything else going on in that scene because I literally can't see what's going on.
Okay, you know what would be really cool? I've been thinking about doing, like, for, like, shorter episodes, doing, scene breakdowns, but watching them at a slower speed to, like, really catch the things we don't notice. And we could definitely do that with this scene at some point, but instead of slowing it down, we could, like, I can just take a clip of it and raise the contrast and the brightness, and that way we can really see everything.
Yeah, because I just feel like I missed so much. And I had that thought watching it at the movie theater, too. I was like, this movie's really dark. I can't really see what's going on.
Right. No, I had that same thought here. At least it was mainly just this scene. It brightens up later.
Yeah.
But no, I completely agree. I wrote oop. I think I was trying to say oh, but I said oop, poor Han, as he's getting beat up.
Yeah,
by,
that's Han's
guards.
main theme in this film a lot. Is Han just gets beat up all the time.
Yeah, he takes quite a few punches.
And then, of course, The Rock. I love The Rock.
I do too. I literally, in all caps, wrote Han. The click was so obvious.
And the fact that Lady Proxima points it out, too. She's like, you just made a clicking noise with your mouth.
Yeah.
He's like, no. This is a thermal detonator.
Yeah. Before that does happen, though, I've just got one last note, is when Kira steps in to try and save Han, you can really tell that Lady Proxima cares about her, which was like...
I just think she's useful for right now.
That... I don't know.
Because she tells Han, basically, that he's just, replaceable. Like, he's nothing, and he keeps messing up, so she can find another orphan boy. They're everywhere.
Right, but, like... And I don't think she necessarily feels this way about all the orphans, but you can't raise all these orphans and not get attached to, like, one or two of them at least.
I don't know. Is she really raising them? I mean, she has a criminal empire built on children.
That is true. She is... Listen, in no way am I trying to say she's a good person, because she's not. It really...
No,
at least
I think
to me,
you're
seemed
advocating...
Like she cared about Kira.
Terrible orphan slave owners, basically.
Stop trying to get me canceled. That's not what I'm saying.
It's fine. It's not out of character for you on this show that you love all the people that are terrible. It's fine.
Listen, just because I think that Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord doesn't mean I think all terrible actions are okay.
Just because you advocate the choking of women through the Force, it's fine.
I never advocated that. You're putting words in my mouth.
If
People
you
are
go
gonna
back and listen, it's fine.
I literally was going to plug our episode 3 episodes. Mostly part 2. That's where this is coming from. If you want some context to this conversation, go listen to that one.
They don't need context. They know who you are.
This has been Again, I do not advocate for women being choked, but this has been an inside joke for like getting close to 15 episodes now by the time this one comes out.
That's fine. I'm going to keep it around for forever.
Forever joke. Okay, yeah, and I really liked that he actually had a plan, like throwing the rock through. Clearly, it was there was a reason it was so dark. Lady Proxima clearly couldn't be in the sunlight.
Yeah, her species are photosensitive.
Yeah. So, good for Han going in with a plan.
Did Han have a plan? Does Han ever have a plan, or do things just happen?
Did Han have a plan, or did he just randomly have a rock in his pocket?
Well, I think he picked that rock up off the ground, but either way, I think it just goes to show that Han never really has a plan. Things just happen, and he goes with them.
That is a good point. He did get... I think one of the times he got hit we see him land on the ground or get close to the ground, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, you're right. He definitely could have picked up a rock there. I personally didn't catch it, but that's a really good point.
Yeah. And then they run away, if you're done here.
Yeah, no, I'm done. Really, I've got 2 quick notes for this scene because I feel like you'll have a lot more to say. Visually, this movie just looks so good. Like, so many times throughout watching this, I was just sitting there enjoying, like, the frame composition, how clear everything was, the special effects. Like, this movie looks good.
Oh, the cinematography in Solo is impeccable.
Yeah, it is amazing. And then my last note for the chase scene is, what the dog doing?
I have a thing about the dogs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's all. I just had 2 quick notes here, so go ahead, my friend.
First, I do feel bad for that protocol droid that just gets completely demolished.
He was just trying to do his job.
Which, now that you're watching Rebels, have you met the Empire protocol droid? Yeah.
Ooh. I don't.
He might be season 3. Whenever you meet him, you'll love him.
I did see the astromech, the Empire astromech they tried to bring on the crew that Chopper just straight up murdered.
That's what he deserves.
That's what he gets for working for the Empire.
There's only one droid, and that's Chopper.
Yeah. So, okay. This brings up a good point. Was the droid willingly working for the Empire, or was that in his programming?
We can talk about droid sentience later.
Oh, we will.
I know what you're referring to, and I was really hoping that you wouldn't figure it out. But anyway, so I feel bad for the droid that gets destroyed there at the checkpoint.
I do too, yeah.
And then whenever Han and Kira are making their escape there, she, makes a few comments, and she's like, well, do you think that any of this is going to work? And Han just replies with, I hope so.
I mean, that's all you could really hope for, right?
Yeah, but it just goes to show Han has no legitimate concrete plans. He's just like, here's a loose outline of what may happen in the next 5 to 10 minutes of my life, and I'm just going to go with it.
We're just going to hope it works.
And then the bike trooper. I really like him. He looks very cool.
I did too. I think it was I really liked his bike.
I didn't like the bike. I just liked the armor that he had.
I did like
he
the
was
armor.
Just flying or not flying, but he was just driving a skinny rectangle.
Okay, but it was at least a little different from the normal speeders we see.
Yeah. No, I mean, good for them for changing things up. And that goes to another thing. The environment that they're in, or any environment that they're in this film, feels lived in, which is what a lot of people hated about the original trilogy, is that nothing felt like it was like, okay, if they're going to be rebels, why does their stuff look new, or why do things not seem more beaten down? And I think they did a really good job of that in Solo. Like, anytime they're in a really expensive place, everything looks right. And anytime, like, all the Corellia scenes, everything looks really, beat up and abused and just dirty.
Right. And, okay, in response to that critique of the original trilogy, I definitely agree, but as I'm watching through Star Wars Rebels, like, a lot more is making sense. Like, I feel like it is providing context to the original trilogy like the Clone Wars did to the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, it's awesome. I told you to watch it for forever.
Yeah, I know, I should have listened. It's so good. Like, but specifically on, like, the ships, we see that Senator Organa they're not just finding old ships. Like, he's literally having new ships made for the rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, I'm really enjoying Rebels, but that's not what we're here to talk about today.
Nope, it's not. But yeah, I just like the bike trooper's armor. I thought it was different and it looked cool. And you like skinny rectangles.
Skinny rectangles. That's for me, really gets the gears going.
Yeah, and we get the classic Wilhelm scream from the bike trooper.
Yeah. Which, I mean, it wouldn't be Star Wars without it.
Exactly. So now my note about the dogs. I just found out this the other day. So the hounds that we see, those are real dogs. They actually put real dogs in suits
That's
and
awesome.
used them. Yeah, I think one was like a Doberman, and I don't remember what the other one was. But yeah, they used real dogs. Those are real dogs in this.
That's really cool. The heads of the dogs kind of reminded me of Rancors.
They're weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I really like them, but that visually the head, that's what it reminded me of.
I would have liked to have seen the dogs from Tatooine
Yeah.
that the Tuscans use.
Yeah.
They would have been cool.
Which, especially now that we've, seen the Pikes have interest there. I know that wasn't the Pikes, but they could have, sold some of those dogs somewhere along the road.
Who knows?
Okay. Do you have anything for the as they're trying to actually get off the planet?
Well, yeah, getting into there, into like the little spaceport and everything. In the background of everything going on, like everybody's talking, all the troopers and everything are like talking about their IDs and their registers and everything. Right. And it really shows how here with the Empire and like the height, or not the height, but like this is really peak Empire. Yeah. Really at this point. And it reminded me of Bad Batch in part of the latter part of the season, or maybe midway, or maybe at the beginning. I don't know. It's been so long since I watched Bad Batch. They implement that ID system and how everybody has to have a registered ID now.
Right.
And it was cool to see that now in Solo, because I mean I didn't catch it back then whenever I was watching this film, but after Bad Batch I was like, oh hey, here's that register system. And
yeah,
I love Dave Filoni so much.
There's so much care in everything, not only Dave Filoni, but just like the whole Star Wars team does.
No, he's my god. I pray to him every night.
Well,
I've built a shrine.
Everyone's got to believe in something. Okay, so yeah, in regards to timeline, this takes place in 10 BBY.
Yes.
Yeah. So kind of like almost right smack in the middle between episode 3 and episode 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this here where you wanted to talk about the fuel? Because I think Kira specifically says it's worth 800 credits.
Yeah, they tell the Imperial Gateworker that the coaxium is worth 800.
Yeah.
So they bumped up the price like 200 to 300 credits.
Right, which I think was just... I don't think that was like a movie mistake. I think they were lying to, make sure they get on the ship.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I just was like, these people.
These dang people. It always, every time I watch this scene, it makes me so sad when Kira gets taken.
Yeah, but she gets to keep Han's lucky dice.
She gets to keep the dice, and I guess that's really what matters. I mean, all her life she wanted to get off the planet, but at least she got the dice.
I mean, Han really liked him. He saved him from the speeder.
That is true. Yeah, I don't know. It just makes me sad.
Maybe I'm heartless because it's just like,
All right,
Kira.
Put yourself in his shoes. You're trying to escape somewhere, and you and your wife get separated.
She'll be fine. She takes care of herself. She doesn't need me for much.
Not the response I was expecting.
She'll never hear this. It'll be like, probably like ever. If she ever listens to this, she'll never find it.
Wife doesn't listen to podcasts. Shame.
Hey man, her excuse is that they're like 3 hours long. And I'm like,
You
She
know,
really loved me.
oof. I think you both have a good point. I'm not here for to do your marriage counseling. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You support me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure she'll listen at some point.
Who knows? Maybe one day. Either way, time to talk about Han joining the Empire.
Time to talk about Han joining the Empire.
And hearing the Imperial March.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that they did that. That's like the song that they play at the recruitment office in the spaceport.
Right? Well, it was just a nice little detail. Han being a stormtrooper was the last thing I was expecting, but also makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Like him being an orphan.
Yeah, yeah. It's just these little details that add a lot of depth to his character.
Yeah. And then realizing that Han doesn't have a last name because he is an orphan.
Right, right. Which is really weird because later he mentions his dad. He clearly has memories of his father.
Yeah, he does mention his dad later, but obviously that didn't work out. Something happened there.
Right, right. But I find it surprising that he doesn't remember his last name. Or maybe he was just lying. Maybe he knew his dad was a criminal. Maybe his dad was trying to be a rebel or something.
I mean, he gave to for Han. He had no family. Kira was it. That was it.
Right, right. Do you think we needed an explanation on how he got his last name?
No, but I loved it, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it's already a meme. But whenever the Imperial officer, asked him, he's like, "Han what?" I was just like, "Han Skywalker."
Han Skywalker. If it's not a meme, one of our listeners, please make it a meme.
Han.
Photoshop him on Tatooine.
Who are your people? Han Skywalker.
Han Kenobi.
Yes, anything.
You know, maybe, no, timeline wouldn't work out. I was trying to think of how I could connect Han to Sabine and Obi-Wan's love child.
Han 3CPO.
Han C3PO.
No, it's 3CPO. Han
It is.
3CPO.
For now, yes. Okay, but on the real, I think we've already mentioned it, but there's no way that's Sabine's nephew, right?
Well, Sabine Wren is a Mandalorian and definitely never had any interaction with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Of course not. They were never in love. Obi-Wan Kenobi definitely wouldn't have left the Jedi Order for her.
Now,
She did.
he did have a relationship with Satine.
Dang it! That's why you're giving me a hard time. Satine. Sorry, I've been watching too much Rebels. That's definitely not Satine's nephew, though. I'm totally gonna cut the rest out.
Yeah, okay. No, and then, okay, so flash forward, back to Han. Flash forward 3 years.
Yeah.
And this is crazy, but, like, this is legitimately, like you said, this film does such a good job with the cinematography. Like, seeing actual war in Star Wars, I felt like this is the most, like, real scene we get of war within the universe.
I completely agree. I definitely think some of the animated stuff does a good job at it, and the live action stuff does as well, but this scene is, like you said, the most realistic, and I wrote that I could watch a whole film or series based on this one scene. Like, maybe not this scene specifically, but had that same vibe, that same feel, that same direction.
Oh, yeah. Super World War II heavy.
Yeah. Yeah, or even, I got a little World War I vibes with the trenches.
Yeah.
I'd even be okay watching it from the Stormtroopers' perspective.
Yeah? Because you like the Empire? You like evil people, huh?
No, but something similar to what we get here is, Han was a part of the Empire. He was a Stormtrooper. And he obviously does not end that way.
It's true.
Um,
And we finally meet the great Tobias Beckett.
We finally meet Beckett. And they
And I think the fact that they cast Woody Harrelson as Han Solo's mentor was the best thing ever. I can't think of another person who could have molded Han into being Han besides Woody Harrelson.
I completely agree.
I love him.
I don't have anything until they're he's in that little like circular meeting as the lieutenant is telling them like, I need 10 men to go do this thing.
Yeah, so right after that, after they're having like the main war and everything, and things have calmed down. They're obviously at some command center,
right?
As they're walking through the trenches, a little bit of background chatter between the troopers. He mentions that the T-15s are down.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I always look for the speeder lines, but I have to find them in everything.
Of course.
Whether they're the T-17s or the T-18s, but here it's the T-15s.
That's really interesting. I don't think I've ever caught that line before, but I don't watch with subtitles, so I feel like you catch a lot more than I do.
Yeah, you definitely need to.
Yeah. Your parents actually, when I stayed with them over for your wedding, they mentioned The Witcher, and they told me, if you watch this, you have to watch it with subtitles. And so I did, and they were completely right. Like, there were so many little things that I wouldn't have caught if I'd watched it without the subtitles.
Yeah, we've been watching everything with subtitles since, like, ever.
Yeah.
I can't watch anything without them. I have no idea what's going on.
All I'm going to say, my friend, is I think you'd really, really get into anime. Like, not just Visions. You gotta have the subtitles anyway.
But anyways, so yeah, you were talking about the trench stuff. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the last episode we recorded that the listeners won't hear for a while, but I watched the Band of Brothers show recently on HBO.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And it was great. It's all about World War II and everything. And, you know, a lot of their fighting was done in, like, trenches and foxholes and everything. And that reminded me of them in Solo. They're walking through these trenches and everything. I was like, man, this is World War II heavy. So hard.
Yeah. Which, I mean, was a big inspiration for Star Wars. I mean, the Vietnam War was as well, but... Yeah, I think Star Wars is a great way to talk about the horrors of war, and that really goes into this line that I was wanting to talk about. This lieutenant is telling them that they need to take out the hostiles, and Han says, this is their planet. We are the hostiles.
Yeah. Hippie Han.
This is one of my favorite Han lines, I think.
Ever?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe not my favorite, but it's really powerful, and it shows that, like, one, what the Empire was doing was horrible, but two, like, oh, Han, you know, has a conscience.
Yeah, he just... Well, this is still early Han, so he still has a conscience and
a gleam of
inner
hope in his eyes.
Yeah, he believes. He believes.
And I think that's all I have until he gets thrown into the beast's lair.
I just have one thing before that, and many times in this film, I see flashes of Rey's character in Han in this film. Yeah, and it starts right here where he's having a conversation with Rio.
Yeah.
And he is like, well, you know, where are you trying to get back to? And he's like, oh, I'm trying to go back to Corellia. And he's like, no one goes back to Corellia. Yeah. Like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, wait a minute. You know, no one wants to go back to Jakku.
I honestly had a very similar thought, which I wish we would have talked about this in our last episode, but a lot of people were wishing that instead of Skywalker, she'd said Rey Solo, just because Han meant so much to her and was such an important part of her life.
Yeah, I just never realized how much alike those two characters were until we watched this half of this film today.
I didn't make a note of it, but I had a similar thoughts a couple times throughout the film as well.
Well, I can't wait to hear them.
Like I said, I didn't make a note of them. Just a more vague, like, oh, that's kind of like Rey.
Han
Sorry.
Skywalker.
Han Skywalker. So in terms of the lair, my first question was, why did they throw a droid down there?
Is that what that was?
Yeah, it looked like some kind of a droid.
I thought it was just like armor pieces.
Oh, you know what? I was pretty sure it was a droid, but you're right. It might have been armor pieces, because if they're trying to like feed the beast, quote unquote,
yeah, because they mentioned that they
would,
haven't fed him in like 3 days.
Right, and like a droid wouldn't really be a good meal.
Maybe not for Chewie.
But also, if it is a droid, I could totally see some of these stormtroopers just throwing a random droid down there to see it get ripped apart.
That's a good point too. But yeah, like I said, I thought it was armor because the lieutenant, tells him to feed Han to the beast, and then
right.
I think if that is empty armor, like they've been doing this with deserters or captured people since they've been on this planet.
Yeah. No, it definitely could have been. I thought I saw wiring and stuff sticking out of the bottom, but could have been guts.
Who knows?
Who knows?
I feel so bad for Chewie though. He's
do
down
too.
there, and he's wet and he's muddy.
He hasn't eaten in 3 days.
He looks like a mop.
Get this man a meal.
Yeah.
He does kind of look like a mop. And I just wrote, imagine how different Star Wars would have been if Chewie ate Han here.
Would have been a short film.
I'm sure they would have found somebody to get them off the planet.
Solo. A Star Wars meal.
Solo. A Star Wars meal. A single meal.
What else do you have to say about Chewie and Han's first meeting here?
I really liked it. I liked that Han was trying to speak Wookiee, and I appreciated that they gave us subtitles for this so we could see that he was not saying things well.
No, it was all in like first person.
Yeah. Hey, that's okay. Han's Wookiee was better than my English, so I can't really judge.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you like how Han and Chewie were introduced here?
I do. Yeah. Do you?
Yeah, I was just wondering I thought you might have more. It was just a question. I thought you might be like, no, this is how I would have done it.
This is how I would have done it. No, listen, I promise. I love Star Wars. I'm not as cynical about everything as I was with the sequel trilogy.
Maybe that's the problem. We're just coming off recording the sequel trilogy the other week, so now I just question everything that you have to say.
I know. I really am sorry. I do, I was thinking about it, the sequel trilogy really are good films. They're just not my cup of tea. But yes, I am sorry I was so negative, but I'm very positive about this film.
Nice.
No, I really liked it. I liked their plan. It was totally a Han thing to realize that pipe was close to coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it felt like a Chewie and Han plan.
Yeah.
And they've only known each other for 5 minutes.
It felt very genuine Chewie and Han. Like something they'd come up with 20 years from now to try and escape a similar situation.
Which, who knows, they probably used that exact
They probably did.
plot.
Yeah. I think the last thing I have here is thought it was hilarious that after they do escape, Han clearly yells, "Follow me," and Chewie takes off in the opposite direction.
Yeah, Chewie does not care.
Chewie is his own man. He does not care about that life debt right now.
No. And I mean, is it even really a life debt?
That is something I was thinking about. We've mentioned the life debt before, but this doesn't really seem as serious. But I mean, when you really think about it, he was a prisoner / slave who was forced to fight and kill whoever got thrown down there. So it's not like Chewie was really in a good position.
That's true.
Oh, that's what. Okay, sorry. My next note is so intimate, and I couldn't remember why, and I just remembered why.
Well, I know what you're talking about, but I just have one thing before that.
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
Whenever they finally make their way to the airfield to be rescued by Beckett and his crew, Rio mentions while he's powering up the AT hauler, he's taking off all of the disguise and everything. And he's like, it's so hot in this suit and you can't see anything. And he's like, this is why they can't fly. And I was like, I love it.
I know. I was thinking about that too. Star Wars has made several mentions of that. In one of the last episodes of Rebels I watched, Rex was complaining about the armor for the exact same reason.
Right. It's not as higher quality. You can't see anything out of the helmet.
Right. And then even in the original trilogy, we get a couple lines like that.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't like the Stormtrooper armor.
No. But more important than Stormtrooper armor.
Oh, go ahead.
Han and Chewie shower together.
Han and Chewie's shower scene. I completely forgot about it.
It's what I like to see in Star Wars. Just two bros having a shower together.
Having a shower together. So like I forgot, and I was shocked when I saw Chewie walk in.
Maybe he was there to collect that life debt.
There to, gotta make sure Han is safe at all moments.
Yeah.
And then next thing I have is the train heist.
Yeah, so right before that, whenever Han and Chewie are out, like on the little balcony part of the AT hauler, I found that the conversation that they have together is so interesting because of just some of the things that Han tells Chewie. And, one of the lines he tells him is, we do this one job and then you and I are free.
Right.
And I was like, he's going to be saying that for the next 30 years.
Yep. Yeah. Uh-huh. I was thinking the same thing, and I was like, it kind of made me sad because you can tell that Han really means it, but in the end, it was just an empty promise.
I don't think it was an empty promise. I think it was just that, that flash that we see of like, okay, this is who Han's becoming.
Right.
And who we're going to see him as later is he always thinks that, okay, we just do this one job and then you and I are set. We're good to go.
Things are
which is never
okay.
the case.
Yeah.
And it's really sad that he always believes that and that Chewie's right there to back him up.
And then, just talking about how sad it is, like, he really does get out. He has the perfect out with Leia and Ben, and then it all kind of goes downhill. Yep. And he's back where he was.
Just doing that one job.
Just doing that one job. So I know I mentioned the train heist, but I do have a few notes for their little camp scene beforehand.
Which I really like the camp scene.
I do too. My main note was I really love Rio. I really like his character.
Who's played by?
I don't know, but I can look it up.
I know who he's played by, but you don't, and I'm so disappointed in you.
What are you talking about? He was played by... Come on, internet. Come on.
You buy that impressive computer, and yet your internet is still trash.
It's not... Sorry, it's loading, but it's... It just took me to images. By Jon Favreau. I knew that, of course.
You're terrible.
Here, wait, give me 1 second. He was played by Jon Favreau.
Lies. Lies.
That's all I needed so I could splice it in. No one will ever know.
Yeah, I like Rio. He's cool.
He's cool. Sure hope he doesn't die later. That'd really suck.
It would suck to get this really cool character and only have him for 5 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. So, something I've really been thinking about, and I thought this was a good point to talk about it, is Chewie mentions the enslavement of the Wookiees. But watching through the Book of Boba Fett and then through Rebels, we get to see the bombing of Mandalore, the extinction of the Lasats, we see Order 66, we see the enslavement of the Wookiees, all by the Empire's hand, and like all of these like either races or groups pose a serious threat to the Empire. Like they're all impressive warriors, and the Empire made sure to wipe them out or break their spirits.
Yeah, I mean, it's the smartest thing to do.
It really is. It's horrible, but from a military standpoint, it does make sense. But no, I've just been kind of thinking about it on how just how horrible the Empire has treated the people of the galaxy and really anything they saw as a potential threat.
Yeah, I mean, the Emperor was a smart guy.
Horrible man, but a smart one.
Oh, absolutely awful.
Do you have anything else for the campfire scene?
I have a couple things.
Cool.
One is the, like, kind of at the start of the campfire scene, Val mentions the Zan sisters and then Bosk, because she's like, why did we save these two newbies? We could have called in, like, actual professionals, and she mentions Bosk.
Right, yeah.
I like it.
I do too. A nice. I thought it was a nice. We've been talking about like audio versus visual callbacks. I thought this was a audio callback that actually worked really well.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Sing the DL-44 for the first time.
Of course. I know you're gonna ask me. It's Han Solo's gun.
Your answer there didn't seem like you knew what I was talking about there.
I'm not gonna lie. At first I didn't, and then I thought about it. I was like, oh yeah, it's Han Solo's gun. But I was hoping I could play it off without getting called out.
You know, I can't let you get away with things that easily.
Hey, but I actually remembered what it was without having to look it up this time.
That's true.
Oh, actually, what do I mean? I totally didn't look it up last time we talked about it at all.
No, I thought it was cool that, like, it's not like Han just gets the blaster. Like, Tobias has been using it as a rifle with rifle modifications put onto it.
Yeah.
And you see it become the blaster that we know and love.
Yeah. And it sticks
or
with
that
him.
Some of us know.
Listen, I know and love the blaster. I just forgot what it was called for a second.
You're trash.
I'm gonna get you one day.
You're just gonna go look up obscure Star Wars names and stuff and be like, oh, remember this character that's like in the background that I could probably tell you exactly what it looks like and everything, but you know the name of it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I could tell you exactly what Han Solo's blaster looks like. I know what it looks like. Aha, I got you.
Tell me the species name of Salacious Crumb.
I know. We've talked about it's something. It's a lizard something. I'm totally not looking it up.
I'm watching you look it up.
Yeah, but our listeners can't see me.
That's it. We're recording with visuals from now on.
Kowakian monkey lizard. Again, that's all I needed. I got that soundbite. I can just cut it. I can just cut it in.
It's gonna be like whenever people edit things in post, and it's like Kowakian monkey lizard.
Oh
like
yeah,
it's just really flat and monotone.
Kowakian monkey lizard. Was that a little better?
Perfect.
Okay, I've got like 20 tabs open. I gotta get back to my notes. There we go, found it. Okay, I have a question for you.
Could it be about some obscure Star Wars character?
Totally not. So, the lead member of the Jizz musician from Mos Eisley, what was his name?
From the bar scene?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I actually know it.
If anyone does, it'll be you.
Does he have two names or just one name?
Two.
What's his first name?
Figrin.
Okay, no, I don't know his name.
Figrin Dan. Or maybe Dodd. Yeah, totally knew that off the top of my head. Did not look that up when you went to go take a coffee break at all.
Can we talk about Solo?
Yes. Train heist?
Train heist.
I thought this was a really cool scene. I think the main thing I really wanted to talk about was the grav boots.
The grav boots are super cool, and the stormtroopers here are super cool too. They got different armor.
Yeah, I really appreciate any time we see stormtroopers without the like basic armor.
Yeah, and I forget what part it is, but Beckett has a line, and he says that he's like, "I'm never gonna hear the end of this."
Yeah, it's when the Infus Nest attacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I really liked Infus Nest. She was really cool and a good fighter.
Yeah, and her axe thing, that thing's cool.
Yeah, and I like that she had like retractable shields on her arms almost. I know they were small, but didn't they come in and out? Or
I'm
maybe
not sure if they
blades?
just stayed out or not. I know exactly what part you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
I
if they stay out though. I'm not sure if they're retractable.
They looked fan-like, so to me I thought they were retractable, but they might not have been.
Who knows? She has a cool axe thing.
Yeah, and she's a great fighter.
Or is it a man?
Or is it a man?
We don't know.
We don't know. Am I a man? Or am I a Muppet? Disney, don't sue us, please.
That's the that's the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Thank you. It's from one of the Muppet films they did with the guy from How I Met Your Mother, Marshall. I can't remember what his actual name is.
Jason Segel.
Yeah, he sings that song. It's pretty good.
I think that's the audio clip for the end of the episode.
That's the audio. All right, I will not forget. Hopefully.
And then, so Rio, I get so sad every time he gets shot.
I know, me too. Rio is my favorite character from this film.
He was your favorite character from this film? He's in like 5 minutes of it.
I know, but he just has that, like, everything he says is a reference to something else, and, like, it's kind of annoying, but, like, in an endearing way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I was heartbroken when he died.
I mean, you can't have another Jon Favreau character running around. He could run into himself.
Right, of course.
Because he's everywhere.
Yeah. And then... let's talk about the Hall. It's, they're trying to get the... Oh, frick, I forgot what it was called, but the same fuel we saw earlier.
Coaxium.
Yeah.
Hyperfuel.
Which, that is a lot.
It is. Whenever you think about how, like, that one little vial that Kira and Han stole, and then there's just like
500 credits.
Yeah, and then there's just like this whole train of it. Like, they were just trying to steal one train car.
Right. Did they say that each car had it on them? Or
no,
they
never
that specific one.
They just took that one. It was never made clear if each one had one on it.
Gotcha. I mean, they might. I wasn't sure.
Neither am I. But whenever Rio dies, it's so sad, like we said. But he also tells Han, he's like, dying alone, kid. Like, it's not the way to go. Which is such a big theme for this film, is
right.
Never wanting to be alone, and all these people that Han meets either die alone or they're just alone in their life.
Yeah. And at least
which supports who. Well, I mean, it supports who Han becomes, and whenever you think about his character later, they just did such a good job with that.
I completely agree. And then just shortly after that, we get Val dying.
Yeah, that was my note. I said first Rio, now Val.
It is not a good day for Beckett.
No, but other note, whenever the droids come out and they're trying to kill Val, they call them Viper droids.
Yeah,
which just look like probe droids, but they're a little bit they're a little bit different,
slimmer,
outfitted. They're outfitted
square.
different.
Yeah, which I thought was always funny that almost every piece of Star Wars content that have been watching lately has referred to these probe droids as like actually deadly.
I think we just
I know
always see
these
like
were
a
Viper droids,
Jedi
but-
go after him, so they don't
Right.
seem
So
like
threatening.
so threatening because we just see Jedi chop him in half or like force push him against a wall or whatever. But whenever you think you're just a normal person with a blaster,
Yeah. So one thought I had when she blows herself up was like, well, that was dumb. They're and I have a point that I'm trying to get here. Whatever, this can't be that like more important than her life. Like, she clearly wants to spend the rest of her life with Beckett. Like, why would you do that? And then that gets answered just a little later in the film, and I really appreciated that, which we can talk about when we get there.
yeah, you'll probably have to tell me.
Cool. Yeah. And then I just have one last note when they're fighting over the cargo at the very end, like with their
Go ahead.
ships.
Go for it.
Han shouldn't have let go.
Really,
Val
you think?
and Rio died for nothing.
I mean, my whole thing is I don't understand how those like 5 speeder bikes were stronger than an AT hauler.
Right? I mean, they clearly weren't strong enough to lift that whole train car.
Yeah, so I don't really get how they were like in a stalemate with that.
Yeah.
And then also, if we're talking about Rio and Val dying, Rio's body is just in there flopping around.
I didn't think about that. Oh, Rio.
Ha ha ha.
Oh, now I'm sad. And then the last thing I wrote was Star Wars explosion, go boom.
Yeah, it blows up really cool though, because it explodes and then it implodes at the end, and it's
And
just
just
cool.
like, it just sounds so good. Star Wars has some of the most amazing and most recognizable sound effects.
There's only one Star Wars explosion sound.
Listen, I completely agree. The one you're referencing to is much better, but I can still appreciate this explosion sound.
Oh no, it's super cool. What if it would have made that sound though?
I literally had that same thought.
Because it kind of looks similar.
It did look similar, and I think it was audibly a little similar, but still very distinct.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have anything until they're talking after they bury Val and Rio, or well, probably just Rio.
Yeah, I don't
Sorry.
think there's anything left of Val to bury.
Sorry, everyone.
I don't have anything until we're at the space yacht, so go ahead, buddy.
Cool. So I think it makes total sense that Beckett hit Han. I'm really surprised that he didn't hit him again. Because as I mentioned, they kind of died for nothing. They didn't get what they came for. And then what I was referencing to earlier when I was like, it doesn't really make sense that Val would actually let herself die, like just lose the cargo. But once we learn that it's the Crimson Dawn that they're working for, I think it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because if we fail them, you're probably not going to be around much longer.
Right. I think in Val's eyes, either she could die now by herself and Beckett has a chance of living, or they could both fail and they will both die. So she did it to help Beckett, to try and save Beckett.
Yeah.
So I appreciate when films bring up these questions, at least questions I have, and then like they get answered. Like they actually have an answer. And then my last note here was all Han needed was a trip home. Why would he deal with the Crimson Dawn? Like I know in the end, like his end goal is to make it to Kira, and it does work out for him, but he doesn't know she's there. He had the out. He had the out. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, that is Han. Always one more job.
Exactly.
I just want him to be happy.
No.
But then he never would have met Leia. But then they
Ben
would have
would've
never
never
had
happened.
Ben. And yeah.
Then we
There's a
would have
lot.
never gotten Rey Skywalker.
Hey, we may have. We may have.
No, because Ben and her were a dyad in the Force.
Oh, that
So
is
without
true.
Ben becoming so strong, she would have never become so strong.
Good point. Okay, I don't have anything till the yacht.
Yes, space yacht.
Space yacht, and we get our classic Star Wars bar scene.
Yeah, I
And
love
I
space yacht.
I do too, and I really like how, like we mentioned in our not the last one, but when we were talking about episode 8, it was like the classic bar scene, but fancy. And this is very similar, but at the same time, it's so different from the episode 8 bar scene.
Yeah, it's its own thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Cause space yacht.
Because space yacht, and it's a lot nicer.
Big fan
than,
of space yacht.
It's a lot nicer than Jabba the Hutt space yacht.
Hey, what do you have against Jabba's sail barge?
Nothing, maybe I do. He's got all this money. Everything he owns is really old and gross and.
Yeah, but does Dryden
up.
Voss's space yacht have Max Rebo in the Max Rebo band? I don't think so.
You make a great point. Instead, he's got this one girl and the floating head in a jar. And I don't know either of their names.
Me either. He looks like the thing in the jar looks like the thing from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the old cartoon. I forget what his name
I know
was.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I actually I personally didn't enjoy their song very much, but I really liked when the thing in the jar started singing. I wasn't expecting it.
Yeah. Not one of the coolest Star Wars songs.
Hey, I mean, nothing will be better than Max Rebo.
Nothing will be better than Ewok Celebration.
Of course.
Gotta have that yub nub.
Yub dub. I don't have anything till we see Kira.
I have like one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's like, well, he asks where Dryden is, and he gets told like he's dealing with the regional governor right now, which it kind of ties in to like rebels and stuff a bit. Like in the Empire, like the reason, like one of the ways they tried to control all these systems and everything was by using regional governors.
Right, yeah.
And we do see like many Imperial officers there.
Yeah.
In the space yacht while Han's looking around, and he's like obviously trying not to make eye contact with them, even though they wouldn't know who he is or know that he's a deserter, but he's still a deserter on the run.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So Dryden's talking to the regional governor and then just kills him, which makes me wonder, who's the regional governor now?
I elect myself.
There we go.
I knew I'd worm my way into Star Wars eventually.
Somehow. Is this part of your fan fiction?
It's part of the fan fiction. Hear me out. It's something's going on. It's the classic Star Wars bar scene, and over in the corner it's you and me doing our podcast, but we're instead of talking about the films, we're talking about something that's actually going on.
Wow. Why do we work for Crimson Dawn?
I don't know. I guess I wasn't. I know we were talking about Crimson Dawn. I wasn't imagining us working for Crimson Dawn, but I guess we could.
I feel like somehow you wormed us into this criminal this criminal, empire somehow because you love terrible people, and so you're like, hey,
no,
come on, let's go do this one job for these people. They believe in force choking women. Come on, let's go.
No, I've never said any of those things. I will not let you get me canceled for something I didn't say.
Who's writing the fanfic now?
So we see Kira.
We do see Kira, and she has a sweet burn on her arm.
Right, which will become important later.
Yes.
I was so happy to see them together again.
It was good to see them together, but obviously some things have changed.
Right, but I mean, it wouldn't be, that's closer to real life. You don't just not see someone for 3 years and then everything's exactly the same.
That's true.
I mean, they were once street rats, and now he's a stormtrooper deserter, and she's helping run a criminal organization, a galactic criminal organization to be more specific. And so, maybe for everyone, maybe that much doesn't change, but...
You know what I just realized? And it was because you said street rat.
What?
Solo is just Aladdin.
Prince Ali. I don't know what they say next. I haven't watched that film in so long.
Yeah, just made that connection right now.
And it makes it really does. It makes perfect sense.
There we go. New fanfic.
Han Solo and Aladdin running from stormtroopers and whatever the guards were called in Aladdin. I can't remember.
Yeah. Talk about Dryden Voss.
Dryden Voss. He's clearly been through some stuff. His face is a little scarred up.
Well, I think that's part of his species. Like he whenever he gets angry, all those marks on his face turn red.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought he really portrayed the fancy criminal organization. Does that make sense?
Like the Godfather or something.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's in charge, and he is not a nice person, but he seems like a nice person. He dresses well. He's very well spoken.
Yeah.
But he did just get done stabbing a guy about 5 minutes before he was talking to you.
And he made it clear that he's probably going to stab someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing. Whenever Chewie drinks both of the drinks and he has all this stuff on his face.
On his beard.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Chewie. I relate so hard.
Because you're also a Wookiee.
I was just going to say I have facial hair and sometimes get food stuck in there, but yeah, sure, that too.
I mean, you're the closest thing that I know to a Wookiee.
I'm very hairy. And
I mean, now our intros are true. You really are the Chewie to my Han.
I really am the Chewie. If only I wasn't slowly, if only my hairline wasn't receding slowly.
I mean, Chewie's kind of does too, so.
That is true. I really don't have anything until the end where they actually make their plan. Do you have anything before that?
Yeah, so after that initial meeting between everybody before they go to Dryden's space on the yacht, Chewie and Han, his little suite. The dialogue between Han and Chewie, and Han just tells Chewie, he's like, "You're touchy."
Right, yeah.
Because Dryden puts his hands all over Kira and is making it very obvious that she belongs to him.
Right. That's a really good point. I thought that one line was Chewie telling Han that he was really touchy with that girl, because at that point, when he first saw it, he wouldn't know that they had history.
Yeah.
All Chewie sees is Han walk up to this random girl and put his hands on her face.
I mean, he's close enough by that he's he hears the
probably
dialogue
hear the conversation. Yeah. And so actually that did make me think of something. I really appreciated that he pulled Beckett aside and said, "I'm sorry for Val."
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, it was. They're just two very different vibes between when they meet at the actual bar and then when they go to his suite to have their private conversation.
I mean, I guess that's part of being a good crime boss is...
Right, yeah.
Out in the open, you're very helpful and,
sympathetic.
Well, not necessarily
people.
Helpful, but the show that you put on is that you're this very charismatic, nice person, and then whenever you're behind closed doors in your business meetings, you stab regional governors in the stomach.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. They're in the suite. What did you want to say about it?
The suite itself, all the collectibles. This man he's got General Grievous, kind of beat here as far as collections go.
He's a nerd. He's one of us.
He is. He's got everything. One of the little golden statues he has is from Indiana Jones. It's the golden statue from that one.
Nice.
I think that's the crystal skull behind him as well on the same table.
That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't put the connection that they were from Indiana Jones, but that's awesome.
I mean, Indiana Jones in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the best Indiana Jones.
Yeah, of course. It totally is, of course.
It's everybody's favorite.
Yeah.
And then the Mandalorian armor in the background.
I didn't actually catch the Mandalorian armor. That's really cool.
Yeah, he has like a full suit back there.
That's awesome. Of course he would have Mandalorian armor. Of course.
Maybe he like puts it on whenever nobody's there and just wears it around.
Tells a droid to shoot him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally feel like that's something he would do.
I mean, I would do it too, but whatever.
Yeah, maybe it's something he. Maybe that's not something he would do. Maybe it's just me self-inserting.
Possibly.
Yeah.
What do you
Okay,
have to say about their convo?
So they make this plan to go to Kessel, which is owned by the Pikes, and they make it very clear that if Crimson Dawn is involved, it will start a war. And so Solo basically says, okay, we'll go. We will have no connection to you. They'll never know. But then he chooses to send Kira along on the mission, which she's his lieutenant. There's definitely a chance that she's been seen hanging around him, especially by Pikes. But 2, she literally has the Crimson Dawn branding, which I mentioned her tattoo would, or the mark would become important later. Like, if she gets killed, they'll clearly see the Crimson Dawn mark on her wrist.
I guess he just has so much faith in her.
So much faith in her.
I mean, because he made it clear that if they fail anyways, they're all dead.
Right. But if they fail and she gets revealed as working for the Crimson Dawn, it will start a war.
It's going to start a war between the syndicates. Yeah.
Right. And that was the whole point of their conversation. So, like, I know movie-wise, for the plot, she had to go, but it just felt a little weird that he would send her when he was so worried about the Pikes.
He's also a genius, though, because he knows that something more is going on between Han and Kira. And so...
Yeah, that is true.
He's already verbally threatened all of them that if they fail, they're going to die, and...
Right.
Kira's going to be in harm's way. He can already tell that Han has a thing for Kira, so obviously Han's going to do everything he can to make sure she's safe, and also to make sure that the mission gets completed so that she doesn't die.
Right. We also get, I think, a reference here to his boss.
He does mention the boss.
Yeah, which will be more important for the second half or ending of the film.
Like the last 30 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't have anything till we see our good friend Lando.
Oh, I just, like, whenever they are going through the plan and everything at the end, Han, he's like, we just need a ship. We've already got the pilot. Like, he's so...
Right, yeah.
He's so Han about it, and it's like, Han, we haven't even seen you fly. All we've seen you do is pilot a speeder and an AT hauler.
Right. But he has made it clear that he was training with the Empire to become a pilot.
That's true. He did go to the Imperial Academy. He just got kicked out.
Right. He just got kicked out because he couldn't follow commands.
Right, but how do we know that he's even a good pilot?
That is true.
I mean, Rio did say before he died, he was like, you're a hell of a pilot, kid. But Rio was also dying, so
right.
Can we really trust the words of a delusional dying creature?
Yeah. Don't remind me. I'm already sad.
Death to Rio.
Hey. Maybe you're the one who needs to get canceled here.
I would have eaten him like a Kowakian monkey lizard.
No. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Meeting Lando again, which I like this place that they're in. Like this.
I do too. Robot fighting ring /
robot
underground
fighting
gambling rink.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a lot going on here.
It seems like a place Lando would hang out.
For sure. Yeah. Before that, I think it's funny that Kira just kept going on about how cool Lando is, and you could definitely tell it was starting to bother Han.
Oh yeah, I mean that's why she was doing it 100% to bother Han.
Get under his skin.
Yeah, it was great to see that part of their relationship right there for just a few seconds.
Yeah. So just as a general statement about this scene, because I'm sure you've got deeper stuff you want to go into, I really like the Sabacc scene, and Lando and Han's interaction was the perfect way for them to meet. Again, not something I would have thought of beforehand, but just makes perfect sense now that I've seen it.
Yeah, that's how you would expect two scumbags to meet each other.
Right. Do you have anything you really want to say about their Sabacc scene?
Yeah, whenever they first get introduced to each other and Lando purposely mispronounces Han's name.
Yep.
Calls him Han, which
Han.
I mean he does for years, because whenever we meet Lando in Empire, that's what he calls Han. He calls him Han.
Yeah. I also thought it was really interesting that Han went straight for Lando's pride, saying he had a ship that was faster than the Falcon.
Well, I mean, in order to know your opponent.
Of course.
Or in order to beat your opponent, you must know your opponent.
Yeah.
And Lando obviously has some pride issues, so why not play into him whenever you're playing a high-stakes game of Sabacc?
Exactly, which, I mean, they both have a lot of pride, and they both played off each other's pride.
Yeah, I mean, Han definitely... I think this is the only time Han's had a legitimate plan.
Yeah, it was wild. And it didn't matter, because we see that Lando is cheating.
Yeah.
That son of a gun. Like, it's
had that green Psylop up the clip, or up the cuff.
Yeah.
Which also, you mentioned that, they make that bet for ship versus ship.
Right.
The ship that Han mentions is the type of ship that, that's the Ghost. The VCX 100, that's what the Ghost is.
That's awesome. I really do like the Ghost. Maybe not more than the Falcon, but the Ghost is pretty great.
The Ghost is pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't have anything till we meet Lando's droid.
Go ahead. I knew it was coming.
She specifically says, "Stop exploiting droids." Are droids sentient? Because she sure thinks so.
Did you miss that line where she says that? How did you miss this?
Saying.
This is your biggest thing. No, she legitimately, she screams out. She says droid rights, and then she says we're sentient.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said she sure thinks so.
Oh, yeah.
I was asking you, are droids sentient? Because she sure thinks so. And she's, a droid.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe whenever I heard that today, and she actually word for word says that droids are sentient. I was just
listen,
like, oh my gosh.
I've been planning this since our very first episode.
The droid sentience thing didn't come around till
nuggets.
Oh yeah, that's how long it's been in the works. You've been working this for 2 years until we could finally get to Solo. Really?
I've been wiggling this in. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
She's sure fighting for droid sentience here, for droid freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It really breaks my heart, though, in all seriousness, when she says they don't even see. I think she says they don't even serve our kind here.
I mean, they don't in the bar on Tatooine either.
No, I know, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Is like that really sucks, and I get that there was a large civil war that brought a lot of pain and destruction to the galaxy, and most of it was caused by droids, but that doesn't justify them, being so
So
rude to
if
all
your
droids.
droids are sentient, huh? What about the super battle droids and the regular battle droids and the droidicas that were just going around destroying lives, huh?
Listen, I didn't say.
So once again, you have supported the people that like to oppress and kill others in the galaxy.
No, I never gave them my support, but I just like bringing up the argument is, were they bad droids who wanted to do that, or was that part of their programming?
It's fine that you support oppressing the galaxy and the murdering of innocents.
I do not support this.
It's fine.
In any way. But
this is the price of your droids are sentient.
I know.
Battle.
I know. I really do, like, in all seriousness, want to have an actual episode discussing this at some point. Mostly it's a joke right now, but I thought it was hilarious when she said it, and I was like, oh, I've got to talk about that today.
Yeah, I knew it was coming.
I wasn't actually planning this for years. I don't think that far ahead.
Yeah.
But it was hilarious, and I may actually start to think that they are sentient now.
We get another important bounty hunter name drop while Lando is not debating. What's it called?
They're bargaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the price of his services for this mission.
Right. 50%.
And we find out that Tobias Beckett killed Aura Singh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who ran around with Bosk.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, since Bosk and Aura Singh used to run around together, and then earlier Val mentioned, using Bosk for the train heist.
That's a really good point. Maybe she didn't know.
I mean, it's kind of established that Val and Tobias had been together for quite a while.
Yeah, no, she probably did. Maybe there's no hard feelings.
Maybe not. I mean, they're bounty hunters.
They are bounty hunters. That is very true. You do what
And
you gotta
Bosk
do.
is pretty heartless.
Yeah.
But yeah, Aura Singh.
And then we get Lando taking them to the ship.
Yes.
Which I think it's hilarious that it was impounded. And he was making it sound like he purposely parked there.
Right, trying to sell the idea of this is where I keep my ship.
Which is a perfect Lando thing to do.
Oh yeah.
Like, of course he's not gonna tell them that his ship got impounded.
Welcome to Cloud City. We're completely under the radar of the Empire. I would never do anything with the Empire. Let's go have lunch with Darth Vader.
Darth Vader's definitely not in that room right there, I promise.
Or Boba Fett.
Or Boba Fett. Or a bunch of stormtroopers. Stormtroopers? Yeah. I don't even know what those are.
What do those guys look like? They did such a good job of making characters who they are later.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And this is really my last note. It's the Falcon.
A very fresh Falcon.
A very fresh Falcon with an escape pod.
Built into the mandible.
Yeah.
And a wet bar.
And a wet bar. That's very true.
Because when you're a gentleman like Lando Calrissian, you need a wet bar in your Corellian YT freighter.
Of course.
YT 300, I think.
Yeah. No, I know we still have a few minutes in the film left to talk about, but that really was my last note. I think besides, again, I just made another quick note on Han and Kira's chemistry. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I love seeing the Falcon, and then we do get that moment whenever Han and Lando are talking, and Han mentions his father. And Lando kind of has a similar story, but he's like, yeah, it was just me and my mom.
Yeah, yeah.
Very interesting.
It really is, and I think, again, it just adds a little more depth and understanding to who these characters are.
And the very odd relationship that L3 and Lando have with each other.
So, as I mentioned, I've been watching Rebels, and there's a couple moments like that where there's like a similar vibe between Lando and some droids there. And then even earlier, during the Sabacc scene, he says, I think, like, thanks, babe, to a droid.
Yeah.
Lando's got a thing for droids, I think.
What was really going on between Lando and Lobot on Cloud City?
I don't know. Maybe something.
Because you remember who Lobot is.
I totally remember who Lobot is.
Why do I hear keyboard clacking?
You totally don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know who Lobot is. So, just being honest, I was pretty sure it was who Lobot was, but I wasn't entirely sure. So, yes, I did look it up.
Yeah, what was really going on between Lobot and Lando? I mean, Lobot's not a droid. He just has that thing on his head, but still.
Right. Maybe something, maybe nothing.
Lando's an odd duck.
We support Lando either way.
Yeah, Lando can do what he wants.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I did mention their chemistry, but it does make me really sad when Kira's telling Han, like, if I tell you everything I've done, you won't look at me like this, like you are now again.
Yeah, so one thing before that.
Oh,
back
yeah,
to
go
the
ahead.
cockpit between Han and Lando. Is
Yeah.
whenever Han sits in one of those back chairs and you see the look on his face whenever he like sees them going through hyperspace.
Yeah,
It's such a special moment.
it really is. His first hyperspace in the Falcon.
Yeah. Okay, now
Yeah.
talk about Kira and Han again.
You know what? I'm so sorry. I think before we get there, we see Chewie playing the chess game.
Yeah. With
Yeah.
Beckett.
Which was really cool. And it seemed like Chewie wasn't very good yet.
Well, I mean, Tobias tells him you got to start thinking ahead.
Right. Which I know I bring that up because we talked about that in one of our last episode when he's playing Poe and Finn, but really that gives him approximately like 40 to 45 years of practice.
No, like 30.
Because this is about 10 years before episode 4. 10 to 7.
Yeah, so like 30.
Yeah.
Because if it's 10 years before the Battle of Yavin,
Right. And then it's about 30 to 35 years after.
maybe,
Yeah. Sorry.
possibly.
I got you this time.
It's like 30 years.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, no, I just in regards to that last scene we're talking about here today, the Han and Kira, it just makes me really sad. Just because
But
she
to be
clearly-
fair, she did tell Han. It's not
She
like she
did.
lied to him.
Right. No, she feels like Han really feels like no matter what she's done, he's still gonna love her, and she feels like she could lose him if she is honest.
No,
It's not an
I
easy
don't
person
think
to-
it was that. I think she was honest with him. She was like, you don't want to be any part of this. It's just like Beckett telling Han whenever right after the train heist, he was like, if you go with me to see Dryden Voss, like, you're in this life forever. There's no looking
Right.
back. Like right now, you have an opportunity to still change your
get
life.
out.
You and
Yeah.
Chewie can go do whatever you want to do, try to get off the planet and do something else. But once he sees you, like, this is your life now.
Right. R.I.P. Yeah, I think that's really everything I've got.
I just like the last conversation that Beckett and Han had before we got to our halfway point, and just the line that Beckett has is just assume everyone will betray you.
Yeah. Which is really important for Han's character later.
It's really important for Han the rest of his life.
Yeah.
How'd you
that's all
enjoy Solo today? Yeah, that was mine. That was my last one. How'd you enjoy Solo today?
I really, really liked it. It was fun. It made sense to Han's character, and I just had a good time watching it, and I wasn't sad when I stopped watching it.
No, neither was I. I wanted to keep watching it. I enjoy Solo a whole lot, and I enjoyed it a whole lot today. I was like, I don't want to stop here. I just want to keep watching Solo.
Like, don't get me wrong, I think it was good we split this episode into 2. I know it's not as long as they usually are, but or they have been lately, but I really was thinking about texting you and saying like, we should just do the whole film.
No, I couldn't have done the entire Solo film.
I couldn't have either, but I wanted to.
Yeah, because that's the thing, and that's what I think that they did with this film that was great is they made it fun.
Yeah,
And that's what it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be this really fun adventure
right.
that we see Han Solo go on, like his first real adventure.
Yeah, and obviously there's a ton of adventures that will happen between now and episode 4, but it really does, it makes sense. It really connects to episode 4 Han.
Yeah, we've got, 10 years of him becoming who he is because of this film.
Right. And I think it hits all the really important beats. How he got the Falcon, how he met Chewie, why he's kind of jaded towards everything.
How he got his blaster.
Right. Oh, something else I wanted to talk about is we've mentioned a couple times the Jedi being referred to as a ancient religion.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think part of it is, yes, it is the fact that they were kind of small compared to the galaxy overall. Like, Kanan specifically mentions that there were around 10,000 Jedi Knights fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that doesn't include, all the Padawans and the younglings, and maybe some retired Jedi or whatever, but that's still not a lot compared to the whole galaxy. But then on top of that, it probably was Empire propaganda, too. They didn't want people to remember the Jedi. And the reason I'm bringing this up now is specifically Han in Episode 4 mentions the Jedi and how he doesn't really believe in them. But I think it makes sense as big as the galaxy is and the way Han was raised.
Yeah, they probably weren't telling too many good stories about the Jedi on Corellia.
Yeah. And there was also, any stories he did hear, there's probably a lot of it was, talking about the Jedi's quote-unquote betrayal of the Empire or the Republic.
Yeah, now that we're talking about Jedi and everything, I was thinking about it the other day.
Episode without it.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about it the other day, and I don't know what made this pop into my head. I think it was from Clone Wars or something. But I just thought about it and I realized I think there's a line somewhere, either in Clone Wars or Rebels or in the films or something, that so many Padawans that became Jedi Knights during the war was because they didn't have to go through the trials.
Yeah.
The war was their trial. Like, they decided that was their trial, and after so many missions or whatever happened, they were deemed Jedi Knights.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have time for everybody to go do the trials, which, I mean, that's what happened to Obi-Wan. Whenever he defeated Darth Maul, he, earned his title of a Jedi Knight.
Right.
Instead of a But, I mean, you see how old he was then.
Yeah.
By the time he became a Jedi Knight, but he didn't have to do the trials because he defeated Maul, so.
Right. And, I was also thinking about... we've talked about the Jedi not being so great, and I was just thinking about them using child soldiers, essentially. Like, we think of them as Padawans and how it's part of their training, and they're doing their Jedi duty, but really they were child soldiers.
But, I mean, we also know from Clone Wars and stuff, not all Jedi were... not everybody was a guardian.
Right, right.
There were librarians and tacticians and...
Right, they weren't all actively a part of the war.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, by the time the war happened, everybody did get assignments.
Right. Everyone had something to do.
Yeah.
Including the children's. Gotta put them on the front line.
Not well, I guess Kanan was out there.
Kanan, Ahsoka. Yeah, sorry.
It's fine.
Didn't mean to burst that bubble.
Hey, if once again you're saying that you're okay with the use of children soldiers, that's your prerogative, buddy.
I'm adding to my whole the Jedi needed to die thing.
It's fine that you support children soldiers. It's fine. I'm
never speaking again on this podcast. This is the last episode, folks.
Thanks for listening.
Sorry we had to end halfway through a film. See you again in 6 months.
Ouch. That one hurts.
No, we'll see you in 2 weeks. But we don't have any listener questions this week. And I know for the last 2 months I've been saying that, but HouseDog and I just recorded a lot of episodes in a row, so we haven't really had a chance for you guys to send in questions. But if you would like to send in some questions and be part of this conversation, you can email us at animalsquadron@gmail.com. Again, that is animalsquadron@gmail.com. We've also started posting on Apple Podcasts. So if you want to leave us a review there, we'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, leave a review.
Leave a review. Tell us how much you love us and or hate us.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about, my friend, before I send us out?
I think that's it. I'm glad I'm not dying anymore.
Me too. All right, friends, for the Animal Squadron, this has been Mother Goose.
And the non-war criminal supporter, HouseDog.
I have never supported war criminals.
That's it. That's the end of the episode. Can't cut it out now. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Am I a man or am I a Muppet?